The KXAN News Podcast is sponsored by Shelf Genie.
It's spring festival season here in Austin, and it's going to be a busy one. How the city is preparing to handle the surge of crowds.
U.S. citizens kidnapped at gunpoint in Mexico moments after crossing the Texas border. What the FBI is offering for their safe return.
And unseasonably warm weather here locally, but we're watching a stalled cold front to the north. Your first warning forecast is coming up.
Well, spring festival season has kicked off here in Austin. Events like South by Southwest and Dell Match Play bring tens of thousands of people to the city. A very good evening to you. I'm Jennifer Sanders.
And I'm Daniel Marin. But is our city plagued with staffing shortages ready to handle the crowds? KXAN's Nabil Ramadna joins us live from the convention center to see the plan to keep everyone safe.
Big sporting events, music festivals in the springtime. There's a lot to do here in Austin. You can actually see behind us and see the South by Southwest EDU kicking off here as people arrive here in Austin. But the city has to be prepared, and that's why during these big events they do extra planning to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Spring has sprung in Austin. Well, not technically, but spring festival season has for sure.
Well, I'm here for South by Southwest EDU.
Matrice Gandy traveled to Austin from D.C.
I'm just looking forward to seeing it. I, hear so much about South by Southwest, and so I'm just excited to be here.
South by Southwest is one of the first large events the city will hold over the next few months. A few others include Dell Match Play, Rodeo Austin, and the ABC Kite Festival.
As we welcome all these visitors and we plan for these events that add to the vibrancy of our city and bolster our economy, we recognize it puts an added strain on city resources.
And with some departments facing shortages like the Austin Police Department and 911 call center, how will this impact service?
This is not uncharted territory. With or without the staffing problem, we're all hands on deck. The same number of positions that we need to keep South by Southwest safe is the same this year as it was last year, and we have those positions filled.
APD will offer overtime to fill positions. They'll also turn to detectives.
Whenever those levels fall below minimum, we have detectives that backfill it. That has to take away from their investigative duties in order to backfill patrol to make sure we have enough people on the street.
In recent years, people have complained about having to wait too long when calling 911, not just during the festival season, but year-round. Austin just launched one effort to fix that problem, using artificial intelligence to handle some reports. As for Gandy, she says she feels safe and always makes sure to be vigilant in any city she visits.
I'm always aware no matter what city it is, but nothing in particular in Austin stands out as like dangerous.
Now, Austin will offer overtime to keep 911 call centers staffed. At full staff, there will be 16 operators ready to handle those calls. Again, all the people that we talked to down here going to South by Southwest EDU said they feel safe, and they're happy to see that those staffing shortages will be addressed, at least for these big events. Reporting live downtown, Nabil Ramadna, KXAN News.
All right, Nabil, thank you very much. Well, crews in Maine are cleaning up after a train derailment. It fell off the tracks overnight, spilling gravel. Manor police tell us it's averaged 1 to 2 derailments a year for the last 5 years. And for the second time in a month, a Norfolk Southern cargo train derailed in Ohio, this time about 3 hours west of the derailment that spilled hazardous chemicals in East Palestine. 20 cars derailed this weekend near Springfield, but none of them had been carrying anything hazardous.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist David Yeomans.
Well, after some damp, dreary weather this morning with fog, clouds, and drizzle, a lot of that, if not all of that, has burned off. From west to east, completely sunny skies making a welcome return. This is leading to an unseasonably warm afternoon, to be sure. 82 degrees right now with just a few scattered clouds on the Oasis camera over Lake Travis. Temperatures have been a good 10 degrees above normal for the 6th day of March in town. 81 out in Rockdale, 70s, a little more comfortable in Blanco and in Dripping Springs. Coming up in your forecast, wind, fog, and drizzle will dampen your driveway again. The continuation of unseasonably warm weather, but also an update to the potential late season cold snap that we were tracking last week.
People in Travis County have a chance to clear their criminal records. People living with arrest records can have a harder time getting jobs, finding housing, or qualifying for financial aid for college. County leaders, though, today talked about their expunction expo.
For a case to be eligible for expunction, it must have been dismissed, and usually dismissed because the evidence did not support the charge. Individuals who qualify for expunction should not have their housing or job prospects limited solely because they lack the financial resources to pay the court costs.
And if you're eligible, you can apply online from now until April 7th. That expo is set for May 20th. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward to help find 4 American citizens kidnapped at gunpoint in Mexico shortly after crossing the U.S.-Mexico border in a minivan Friday. They were met with gunfire and then herded into another vehicle at gunpoint. The FBI says it happened after they crossed into a city just south of the Texas city of Brownsville. Mexico's president said the group had been traveling to Mexico to buy medicine.
Well, e-scooters are a fixture of transportation in downtown Austin, but now officials in New York City are investigating after a lithium-ion battery on an e-scooter exploded inside of a building, causing a huge 5-alarm fire. Jesse Cunnington has the story.
An e-scooter explosion in the back of a Bronx supermarket Sunday morning. In a matter of minutes, flames spread through the entire store and laundromat next door. Smoke filled the sky of the Grand Concourse all before 11 a.m. It could be seen all the way from Brooklyn hours later. This woman was at work at the store when she saw the fire in the back room.
Immediately, I called 911 and I said, fuego, 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 fuego.
Firefighters responded in under 4 minutes, but even then, they couldn't get ahead of it.
The e-bike fire is so much force behind it so quickly. Like I said, under 5 minutes, we already were putting water on that e-bike fire, and it had already spread throughout the building. It's really something that we have never seen before.
The sheer amount of smoke swirling up into the air had neighbors standing, looking on in shock. 5 firefighters, a Con Ed worker, and a member of EMS were hurt, but should all be okay. The work here, though, not close to being done. Video shows the extensive 5-alarm fire scene from above as crews worked into the late afternoon to get all the pockets of fire out. And what's left of the small e-scooter will be inspected as part of the fire marshal's investigation to see what exactly caused the lithium-ion battery that powers it to explode. This is the latest fire caused by those batteries.
And that was Jessica Cunnington reporting. As of late February, lithium-ion batteries used to power electric bicycles and scooters sparked 25 fires that caused 36 injuries and 2 deaths in New York City this year. Now, many of the fires blamed on the batteries have been caused by malfunctioning devices left to charge overnight and placed in a hallway or near a door where they can trap people inside of burning apartments. Well, a wave of suspected poisoning attacks on young schoolgirls in Iran. How long it's been happening and who may be behind them.
And what sparked an attack on police officers in Georgia that led to over 24 people going to jail.
Public anger is growing in Iran over suspected poisoning attacks in schools. Iran's supreme leader said that poisoning schoolgirls is an unforgivable crime which should be punished by death. Over 1,000 girls have suffered poisoning since November, according to state media. Some politicians are blaming religious groups opposed to girls' education. Some parents have taken children out of school in protest.
Police have detained at least 35 people after a coordinated attack at the future site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. 23 have been booked on domestic terrorism charges. Atlanta police released 2 videos on their social media page, one showing a group of individuals throwing large rocks, bricks, and fireworks at police officers, the other showing destruction to a piece of equipment.
This was a very violent attack that occurred this evening, very violent attack. This wasn't about a public safety training center. This was about anarchy, and this was about the attempt to destabilize.
And according to police, a group of violent agitators took over a peaceful protest. Protesters say they are concerned with the center's environmental impact and its symbolism as one of the nation's largest law enforcement training centers.
2 planes bumped into each other at one of the major U.S. airports. How it happened, coming up.
And temperatures today 10 degrees above what is typical for this time of the year. Instead of 71, we made it to 81 with all that humidity making it feel even a little warmer. At Mabry, no measurable rain, even with some damp weather earlier this morning. Your first warning forecast is next.
This KXAN News podcast is brought to you by Shelf Genie. I'm Rosie Newberry from KXAN Studio 512. Considering replacing your kitchen cabinets? Struggling to find or reach things? Go to shelfgenie.com/Austin. Shelf Genie designs custom pull-out shelves for your existing cabinets, adding convenience and value to the most used room in your home. Shelf Genie custom pull-out shelves, everything in reach.
New data shows thousands of Texas nurses are leaving the profession. It's creating a lack of care that nurses at the Capitol today worried is unsustainable.
And among the reasons they are leaving, threats of violence in the workplace. One state representative is working to end that worry in hopes that more Texans go to work to save lives. Our Ryan Chandler reports from the Capitol.
Nurses experience a lot of mental anguish.
On top of the long hours and life or death decisions in her workplace, Nurse Mary Vitullo faces another stress on the job, the risk of harm from the patients she works to help.
It's time for us to come together and pass a bill that is going to protect nurses.
We are talking about healthcare professionals who are there to take care of us, and the least we can do is take care of them.
State Representative Donna Howard says she remembers the violence she experienced as a nurse.
It's a hard job to have to also deal with the possibility of being injured, having verbal abuse.
New data from the Texas Hospital Association shows 98% of hospitals reported violence has only worsened or stayed the same since the pandemic began. Of those experiencing violence, more than 60% say it's getting more severe. Violence is just one concern pushing nurses out the door. From burnout to compensation, nurses say Texas needs comprehensive solutions to keep beds staffed at home and in the hospital. Across Texas, more than 60% of hospitals have empty beds and fewer services because they don't have enough nurses. Representative Howard says her bill hopes to make the profession more sustainable by requiring hospitals to have violence prevention plans.
It's not a part of the job to accept violence.
Ryan Chandler, KXAN News.
And Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has also prioritized funding tuition for nursing students and building more hospitals in rural areas.
And Representative Howard's bill has bipartisan support in the House and was left pending in committee today. Going in depth right now, the Texas Workforce Commission's labor market analysis shows there's a gap of about 20,000 registered nurses in Texas. Recent projections show healthcare employment will grow 18% in 2028, adding 190,000 new jobs. That growth is expected to account for more than 11% of overall expected growth in Texas.
Two planes bumped into one another moments before they were set to take off from Boston Logan International Airport this morning. A United plane leaving for Newark made contact with another United plane headed to Denver. Federal aviation and airport officials say a tow tug had been pushing the plane headed to Newark away from the gate when its right wing hit the tail of the plane headed to Denver. Now, no one was hurt. This incident comes less than a week after two planes had what the federal administration called a close call at the same airport, with a small jet that took off without clearance crossing the path of a JetBlue plane, which was forced to take evasive action during landing.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist David Yeomans.
Well, sixth day of meteorological spring as we are well underway into the warmer part of the season now. Average springtime highs, just for a little perspective and reminder, 73 in the month of March in Austin, 80 degrees in April, upper 80s in May. Of course, we've had plenty of 80s already this March, much warmer than normal. Weather continues. 80 degrees on the dot here as we approach dinner time on the Austonian weather cam. Mix of clouds and sun, beautiful live view with a little dirt on the lens from that West Texas dust event that we had with the severe weather last week. Pollen count looking okay. We've got a lot on it, from ash, cedar, oak, other trees to grass. But notice everything from page 1 to page 2, even if it's trending upward, it is still staying in the low concentration. Thank goodness. Morning clouds, fog, and drizzle have burned off into a beautiful sunny evening. We are watching the temperatures nationwide because remember that prospect last week we discussed of a nationwide cold snap and some late season freezing temperatures, maybe even in parts of Texas? Well, that looks a lot less impactful here at home locally. 81 in Dallas, 10 degrees up in Fargo. But notice as we project this same map forward in time, we're now getting more clarity that the cold front doesn't just blast through here. In fact, over tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, it actually pulls farther north of our area, retreating and leaving us quite warm and muggy. Finally, a passing upper-level storm does boot the front through here on Friday, but notice all the sub-freezing cold air remains way to our north. Temperatures do drop locally, but it just doesn't look like they drop that much. So the prospect of a late-season freeze looks a lot less likely and a lot less concerning for the spring gardeners. High temperatures over the next few days, lower, middle 80s, well above normal, which is 71 on Friday, even behind the cold front. 74, that could still be above normal, even with about a 12-degree temperature drop. The muggy meter, of course, staying high before the front's arrival, and it only dips briefly on Friday. Here we are with that muggy, humid air tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Morning jogs will be more comfortable on Friday, hopefully into early Saturday. But notice the humidity comes right back as we look towards Saturday evening. This cold front's arrival will be brief, and then it kind of pulls back out of here just as quickly as it came. So with the warm, humid weather pattern, I want you to get ready for more of what we saw today. Morning clouds and warm afternoon sun. Here come the clouds after bedtime tonight. A deck of overcast skies by morning. A little drizzle shown here by the green specks in the morning with some light fog as well. But that damp weather clears up pretty quickly after 10 a.m. And by tomorrow afternoon and evening, another partly cloudy and dry setup. Tonight, 65 degrees, increasing clouds, a little damp weather developing by morning. A little breezy from the south-southeast tomorrow as morning clouds, fog, and drizzle break up. A very warm day, 83, with plenty of afternoon sun. Here's the 7-day outlook with temperatures not that far from records, 4 or 5 degrees every afternoon. Here's a 20-30% chance of a little light scattered rain along that front. Not looking like a very wet week aside from that morning drizzle we'll have to deal with. This coming weekend, again, the cooler mornings do not stick around for long. Humidity starts to spike back on late Saturday into Sunday. Don't forget to jump your clocks forward an hour for daylight saving time this weekend. Another little weak cool front arrives early next week. That one too, though, not packing much of a punch.
You haven't seen a highway disruption quite like this. The rather unique crash on a Kentucky highway. Dozens gathered this morning in San Antonio to remember the Alamo. Today marks the 187th anniversary of the Battle of the Alamo. The ceremony allows people to witness the entire experience leading up to the historic battle. It's all in an effort to really pay tribute to the bravery of those who defended the Alamo.
The message here is timeless. It's about standing up for something greater than yourself and then passing that message on for generations to come.
And there was a wreath-laying ceremony, some music, prayers, and readings about the 1836 battle.
A highway in Kentucky is back open after shutting down for hours after chickens spilled onto a road after a semi-truck overturned. The truck went off the road and hit a small ditch, causing the semi to flip on its side. And as you can see, a bunch of chickens escaped their cages and roamed free. Now, crews didn't just have to get the big rig back on its wheels. They also had to gather up all those birds. Well, coming up on KXAN, The Voice premieres at 7 p.m. Also, a new Quantum Leap begins at 9 o'clock before we're back with KXAN News at 10.
And you can join us an hour earlier for KXAN News at 9 on the CW Austin. And here's where to find us.
Thanks for listening to KXAN News Nightly. You can also listen to KXAN News Today every morning for more in-depth coverage of what matters most to you.